All right, this week, going head to head, toe to toe with a couple of legends. We've got the super multi-coated Takumar, and we've got Carl Zeiss Planar Contax Yashica model. Now, originally, the Super Takumar, way back in the early '60s, was designed to be the planar killer, as it's rumored to have been. But the original was an 8-element Super Takumar. Asahi discovered that it was damn expensive to do an 8-element 50 millimeter 1.4, so they changed up their formulas and dropped it down to a 7-element, which is what the rest of the Takumar's 50 millimeters were based on, and this is one of them. So because I don't have that 8-element one, because it's damn expensive, and I don't have the original Carl Zeiss Planar either, I'm going to do something similar and compare the super multi-coated Takumar from early 1972 to 1974 with the Contax Yashica Carl Zeiss 50 millimeter 1.4 planar from the same era, from the mid-70s. So it's a better head-to-head based upon what I've got versus, if I would have had the original 8-element and the original planar, that could be a true head-to-head, but hey, I don't have them. So I got to do my comparison with the two lenses that I have. So let's get at it.
Here I am, Vietnam. Rain is always coming down.
This is Camera Talk with Dr. Scott. Okay, this week, if you've watched the intro, you'll know that we're doing a little battle of the 50s. I've got boatloads of different 50s to have battles with, but this week, I'm stepping back into a particular era in time when, Carl Zeiss was rumored to be the 50 millimeter king of the hill type thing.
I'm the king of the world!
And, a company from Japan called Asahi, who was producing Pentax lenses and cameras, decided to come up with a lens that was going to knock the king off the top of the mountain. And they came up with a Super Takumar 50 millimeter 1.4 with 8 elements, to, again, battle against the Carl Zeiss Planar 50 millimeter 1.4. Now, I don't have those two particular lenses, as I stated in the intro, but I've got kind of the next best thing. I've got two of those same model lenses from, a little later in time, closer to 10 years later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare my super multi-coated Takumar 50 millimeter 1.4, which was produced from 1972 to 1974, with my Carl Zeiss Planar 50 millimeter 1.4 Contax Yashica mount, which was built in Japan. So, I've stated the histories behind these things in other videos, so I'm not really going to go into the details of that. But I can just tell you from my use of these two lenses myself that it should be an interesting little competition. Anyway, these lenses are really for their age. There's nothing to complain about. For their price, which is not that expensive, nothing to complain about. But each one has its own little idiosyncrasies that make it its own lens, right? But the comparison between the two is going to be, through their, image rendition, because physically speaking, they're both almost identical.
We're twins.
They have the same elements and same groups, the same focal length, the same aperture. The blade count is different. This one has 8, this one has 6. But other than that, your close focus distance, the weight, that's exactly the same, but the weight's a little different, 40 grams difference between the two. The mount is different, obviously. But, other than that, physically, they're pretty darn close to each other. So it comes down to, the creamy bokeh of the Takumar and the sharpness versus the contrasty sharpness, okay bokeh of the Zeiss. But the Zeiss also has that, the legendary 3D pop that the German design lenses tend to have. Leica, for example, it's the Leica pop, where you have the Zeiss pop when it comes to the image rendition anyway. So without further ado, let me move these things off to the table here. We'll get a closer look at them, and I'll start taking some pictures, of my favorite little model, my son Dylan McDonald, who is, what is he this week? He's going to be 50 weeks. So he's 2 weeks away from being 1 year old. And again, he's fun to take pictures of, especially this day when he doesn't exactly sit still anymore. So that's a challenge for me as a photographer, dealing with manual focus lenses here. You may notice that there's other lenses on my desk too. And I have them just to kind of briefly go over, where the Super Takumar, begat the Super Multi-Coated Takumar, which begat the SMC Takumar. And my, the Carl Zeiss Planar I talked about already. You may wonder why I have a Nikon 105 2.5 here. And that's because of the comparison between, again, we talk about that 3D pop. It's very similar to what this my Nikon here can give you. But this is a 105. This is a 50. Completely different. It's kind of expected out of a 105. And this is one of Nikon's cream of the crop lenses here. Super excellent lens, by the way. It's going to have its own video someday. So anyway, as I said, let's move to the table and get a little more detail about these guys. So back in a jiffy. Okay, here we are, back at the table. So I've lined up my lenses in front of me here. And, I'm going to do little sample shots of, again, what I usually do. My standard operating procedure is give you wide open shots of, this distance, which is like 1.5 meters, maybe 1.75 meters from the camera, just to give you an idea of well, the only two lenses I'm going to shoot with are these two, to show you wide open, what they look like from this view. Because I shoot everything wide open. That's just the way I go, because that's kind of how I judge a lens, is the quality of that lens. If it can be as sharp as possible wide open, then the rest of the stop downs are without question. It's how I judge my Leica lenses too. They're designed to be optimal at wide open. So I try to compare all my other lenses the same. Some are pretty soft and they sharpen up later, but if you're gonna design a lens to be wide open, to have a 1.4, 1.2 kind of aperture setting, then they should be usable at that, right? Why bother having them if you can't use them at that wide open aperture? So anyway, without further ado, let me get into again the history briefly behind this little contest. Was that Asahi Pentax, back in the 1960s, wanted to knock Carl Zeiss Planar off the top of the mountain, who was claiming the throne as the best 50mm 1.4 out there. And these guys said, "Oh yeah, let me show you what we can do. So they created the Super Takumar, which I have a copy of here. And you know, the Super Takumar was built from 1965 to 1971. They had auto Takumars and things prior to that, but it really was the Super Takumars that created a legend and went from there. And as I said, there was an 8-element Super Takumar that was produced by Asahi Pentax in order to knock Carl Zeiss off the mountain, so to speak. And, you know, the story goes that, hey, they gave them a run for their money. But Asahi was spending boatloads of money producing those 8-element lenses. And, you know, after they kind of captured that crown, figured, all right, now that we're king, we can cut back on that. And they took one element out and created, again, the Super Takumars, which are 7-element in 6 groups. And, but they're still good, though. They're still just, actually, a lot of people who compare the 8-element to the 7-element say that the 8-element is definitely overrated. It is a legend. It is a collectible. The Takumar people will, you know, want my head for ever saying such a thing.
Get the fuck out of here.
But, as I said, you interview enough people, they'll tell you that the 7-element is probably going to be a little sharper, you know, better all-around lens. And, you know, and that kind of goes with time anyway, as lenses progress through their life cycles and whatnot, they tend to, you know, the optical engineers produce a better lens. So anyway, the Super Takumar was 65 to 1971. The Super Multi-Coated Takumar was 1971 to 1972. I think earlier I said 72 to 74. I think I was watching too much Breaking Bad and smoking crystal meth or something. Who knows what I was thinking, but it was 71 to 72. And then kind of the SMC model, you know, came out after that, and it was 72 to 75. That's probably where I got that from. Even though this is a SMC Takumar 55 1.8. You know, it's not exactly a 50, but if you ever get a chance to see this in action, it actually kind of blows away the 50. This is if you want sharpness, this is the one to get. So it's an SMC 55 1.8. It's not even a 1.4. So anyway, the Carl Zeiss Contact Yashica mount version of the Planar is what I have here, and it's another one produced in the early to mid 1970s, so 1974 all the way to 2005 is when they produced this one. And I've got an earlier, you know, 70s model. So it's a true, you know, battle of the 1970s lenses here. So again, the the Super Multi-Coated Takumar is a 7-element, 6 groups, has 8 aperture blades, and you know, so it has rather pleasing bokeh. You know, if you read other reviews and whatnot, and just from my own experience, I can tell you the bokeh is relatively nice on this too. The close focus distance is 45 centimeters, or 0.45 of a meter. Its weight is 250 grams. This one's 290. So I don't know, they feel relatively close, but 40 grams isn't much anyway. But this is on paper 250 grams. They both go from f1.4 to f16. So that, you know, as you can see, there's a lot of similarities between these two lenses. The reputation of these: good color, sharp from 1.4 all the way through. It's a lower contrast than this one. This one's a little more contrasty. Chromatic aberrations between the two are, reported by some to be, not that great. Others report to be, that they don't have any at all. I haven't found, with my own experience, that they suffer from chromatic aberration at all. I don't see really any color fringing happening. But then again, I'm not bright sunlight shooting against, white backgrounds kind of thing, or light, bright skies kind of things, shooting trees and whatnot. So, just in my portraiture, I don't have any issues with chromatic aberrations. So great bokeh, okay bokeh on these. So again, if you have to read up on these on the Pentax forum, of course, because it's a Pentax lens, it's got rockin' reviews, 9.5 out of 10. So it's, as good can be, out of that with so many different reviews. On the same Pentax forum, this has only got 3 reviews, and it's got a 7.0. So you would think, oh, well, this one definitely blows it away then. But if you read those reviews, there's 3 reviews altogether on this one. 2 10s and a 5. So of course that's where that 7 comes from. But they're giving this a 10. So there you go. So you can see why they're so comparable in that regard. So again, the 3D pop is what this thing is reputed for. Just like other German, like I said, my Leica's got the same reputation, as well as that Nikon that I mentioned earlier, the 105 2.5 has that 3D pop reputation as well. So excellent build quality, just like all Zeiss, even though this isn't built by Zeiss, built by Cosina, but anybody who has other lenses built by Cosina, they do a pretty good job. I mean, I have a number of Voigtlander lenses built by Cosina that are pretty top of the line. I mean, they compare, again to some of my Leica lenses and whatnot. And so I think they do a pretty bang up job, so to speak. So anyway, let me get you some photo samples here. So as I said, let me get see another Carl Zeiss 55 here, but of course this is a modern Sony Zeiss lens. So let me get first I'm gonna get the Takumar on here. Yeah, super multi-coated. Now that's the thing too, the difference, the SMC, which stands for super multi-coated, and the one actually written out, super dash multi dash coated. Again, reputation wise, doing a lot of research, this is the one out of the 50s, 50 millimeter, that has the reputation of being the sharpest out of the bunch. So, as I said, let me get a shot of my Canon M50, which is filming this video right now, and I always try to focus in on the end of the 15 to 45 millimeter little kit lens that comes with it, that I use for my YouTube filming. So anyway, I'll get you a shot of that. Let me zoom in here. Try and get as sharp as possible. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, so we'll see see how that looks as it comes out right here. And obviously, like I just said too, I'm going to give you some shots of my son Dylan. So we'll add those in right here. All right, let's move on to my Contact Yashica Carl Zeiss Planar 50 millimeter 1.4. So we're going to see what this bad baby looks like, and see how it how it renders. And as I said too, let me make sure I'm wide open here. As I said, with my experience with these, as similar as they are, they're almost quite obvious when you see the the image quality that comes out of these things. So let me get as sharp as I can on the end of here. 1, 2, 3. All right, so let me add that in right here. So that was the the test of the shooting of the lens here. So now I'm going to add in a couple pictures of Dylan to let you see the differences in that quality right here. So, what do you think? Which one do you, which one do you think is sharper? Now, if you have these two lenses at home yourself, obviously you can test them head to head. Leave a comment below what you think yourself from the quality of the images that you get out of these two lenses. Or if you don't have them, again, just go by, the shots that I have here and tell me what you think. And again, the shots of Dylan were also shot wide open at 1.4, so there's no no cheating by looking for the lens's sweet spot or anything. This is a true head-to-head wide open. It's a 51.4, so let's see what a 51.4 can do, right? So anyway, my take on them, if I had a choice between the two, as much as my Takumar people are gonna hate me for saying this,
it sucks. It sucks.
I actually do prefer my Carl Zeiss Planar.
Get the fuck out of here.
I think it renders the better quality pictures out of it. Now, for bokeh, yeah, this one beats hands down. For character, yeah, that's kind of where the super multi-coated Takumar comes in. But again, for the overall quality of the image, I think my Carl Zeiss is kind of get the edge on that one. So that's my take on it. That was Camera Talk with Dr. Scott and his opinion on what these lenses can do. You may have a different opinion. Go ahead and leave a comment below. This is not a scientific test. I'm not a technical guy that goes into the MTF tables and all these different kinds of things.
No shit, Sherlock.
Other people do that. That's their gig. But for me, I just share the experience of me as a photographer and the different lenses that I have, and give you a little taste of something to see if perhaps it's something you may be interested in acquiring yourself. So anyway, that's pretty much what I've got for you this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it anyway. So hey, make sure you come back next week and we'll do something else, right? So do my channel a favor, subscribe, help me out, help to expose me to the world. So subscribe, and third time's a charm, as I always say, so a double finger, subscribe. And as the algorithm likes it on YouTube, just like they do on Facebook and anything else, give me a thumbs up. And here's the thumbs up girls to support that. And lastly, if you're in the market for any kind of photo editing software, you may have Lightroom, you probably have heard of Lightroom, Photoshop and all these others, but there's one that's out there called Luminar. And Luminar is giving these guys a run for their money because they have all the bells and whistles and special features and everything else that these other big boys have. But it's very economical though. It's like $67 or somewhere in that range. And if you click on my link below in the description, you'll save $10 on that. And I get a little kickback from that myself. Hey, who doesn't like a little kickback? But anyway, it's, you know, definitely not going to make me rich, not going to give me
$1 million.
you know, every little bit helps, and why not help out the teacher, right? We don't get rich being teachers. So anyway, that's all I have for you this week. Thanks for dropping by. This was sponsored by Modesty Photography. So this was Camera Talk with Dr. Scott, and you have yourself a great week, a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Go get your vaccine. They don't have it yet here in Vietnam, but we only have a couple hundred active cases anyway out of 97 million people. So I'm not exactly paranoid about catching COVID-19 or anything. But anyway, wash your hands, wear your mask, stay away from everybody coughing or with high fevers and all that good stuff. So take the doctor's advice and stay safe. Come back next week and we'll do this all again. All right? Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Here I am,